making headbands where you didn't have to go buy them from the store. And we kind of got into this where this is a 4th century Ethiopian Coptic style 2 needles binding, which I don't know if you can see the 2 colors, but it's a really pretty book. You do a little bit of woodworking, so you have to drill holes and do a little bit of carving out for the cords to sit in. And then it has these really elaborate headbands that wrap around the entire top of the book. And as I was explaining, the first set of pleats, they are structural. They keep the top of the book together. The rest are kind of decorative and add to it. But yeah, this lady downloaded her prayer conversation that she had with her friend who was terminal. I printed it out in kind of a text conversation format, and then bound it in this Ethiopian style and sent it to her. Obviously not this particular one. Anytime I do custom work for people, I generally will print one for myself, for my own personal library. Especially this one, because it was the first time I had done this type of binding, and I was really excited about it. I learned a lot this day. Yeah, so she went and visited her friend and gave her the book. So that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy about what I do, is, you know, people's stories like that. And I've got a couple others of projects that I've done that have really tugged at the heartstrings. In the fall, I'm going to offer, now this will probably be a 4-day class, because there's a lot going on here between not just sewing the book, but prepping the boards and the woodwork that needs to be done with it. And then this sewing is a little bit more complicated, because as you're sewing, you're using 2 needles in 2 colors, and good time, great project. Another one that we're going to do in the fall, this is a reproduction of the Nag Hammadis. If you're familiar with the Gnostic texts, I think they found them in the late 80s in a cave. And there were like 13 or 18 texts that we ended up getting, like the Gospel of Mary and some other stuff that, you know, definitely isn't included in the Bible. And but yeah, so this is a historically accurate reproduction of one of them. And there was several different styles of how they cut the leather and actually bound it, but this is based off of one of them. And we will do a workshop on this. I think this can be done in 1 day, maybe 2. I need to figure that out, but you know, stuff's coming up. Okay, so we cut the height of our board, right? Mm-hmm. And so now we've got all this material here. When we get on, hopefully you guys come back for other classes. There's other styles of binding where you would actually lace the boards on to the book before you put any of the covering on. But we're doing a case binding. And with those other styles, you would put this on and then you would trim this off. But since we're going to make the case and have it complete before we put it on, we need to figure out how much of this material needs to go away. So what we're going to need to do is you put the board on your, I should probably switch to the upper camera, right? So you can see this. And is it going? And coming back up. There it is. All right. So much like, and we'll zoom in. All right. So much like you did when you used the paper to get your measurements, you're going to put those on the lines in the same way that you had them before. And then you're going to turn it over and you're going to make a mark on where that falls. Then you're going to make that measurement of what I say, 1/8 of an inch And you're going to make a mark where the 1/8 of an inch would go. And I'm not a huge fan of the bright, shiny rulers because I get a lot of reflection and I can't see it. So I've got this ruler, which I should be using, which is matte, and I can see my lines better. All right. So once you get your initial line, you draw those little marks. Now the board's shiny. Holy cow. I think what I'm going to do, take some glare off. I don't think that's going to hurt the picture at all. Is that harder to see? Okay.
No.
Yeah, because I can't see my lines. It's just reflecting. So I did my measurement. So now I have my second line going that way. So that's where I'm going to cut my board. And so you don't actually have to draw the line. I mean, once you have your tick marks, I just did it so you guys could probably see it better. You need to go ahead and cut that off. And I'm going to bring it back over and pray that I didn't cut too much. I'm going to put those on my lines. I'm going to flip it over and look. Hey, I've got a nice, pretty even square all the way around. So go ahead and trim up your boards. Usually when I get the first one done, I just put it on the second one. I can mark it because they're going to be the same or should be the same. Okay. And then while you guys are doing that, I'm going to cut myself some cloth. I'm sorry, am I intruding?
Actually, I think.
What's that?
They said the book is definitely not square.
It's okay.
They rarely are when they're handmade. I mean, you can get close, and there's things that you can do. Yep. So what he's talking about is his book is not square, and it's really difficult when you're making a handmade book to make it exactly square. It's not impossible. I had mentioned yesterday there's a gentleman named I forget his name. His YouTube channel is DOS Bookbinding, and he has his mat and he's got it set up with some borders on it that help him square things up. If you want tips on making your stuff perfectly square, he's the man to watch. I've thought about making the setup that he has, but I feel like I'm stealing from him. But it really is. I mean, he's an engineer. It's a brilliant tool. And if you're going to be making more books, I think it might be worthwhile, especially if things not being perfectly square are frustrating to you. And I get that.
So, can I put this?
Yeah. Tell me to get the hell out of the way.
Sorry.
Got shit to do. Move. You're holding me up.
you take the 1/8 of an inch out from here.
Yeah. So if you have your boards on your lines on the other side, then I would draw a line right down where the book ends. No, just draw your line.
Okay.
Yep. And that way, now you can move the book. You can measure an 1/8 inch.
Okay.
Yep. It's easier to maneuver your
Yeah, definitely.
your ruler that way.
What's the standard for the overhang?
Okay, so the question in the house, where'd Bendy go? The question in the house is, what is the standard for the size of the square? And the answer to that is typically it's the thickness of the board. So if you, hi Wendy, you're back. So the question that we've had is, what is the standard for the overhang of the board? And the answer is, it's not an exact measurement, but typically it'll be the thickness of your board. And so we have a 2 mil board. So we went roughly 2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. If it were a 3 mil board, 3 mil, 4 more, etc. The caveat to that rule is, if let's say you have a designer end band, because they can go anywhere from 2 to let's say 4 millimeters, you want your board to be at least as tall as the distance of your end bands from end to end, because you don't want them touching the bookshelf or whatever. So you want them to be inside the board. So if you're using a 3 mil board and your end bands are 4 mil, you're going to go a little bit larger than the 3 mil to 4 mil to compensate for your end bands.
I went a little heavy on this end.
As far as what?
With my boards, I went just a little heavy going this way.
Okay.
It's not the same as the, but I'll leave it.
Oh.
Otherwise, I gotta trim an 1/8 or a 1/16 off.
Yep.
You think it's worth doing that?
Depends on how heavy you're talking.
More than a quarter.
Oh yeah, take an 1/8 off. A quarter would be ridiculous. You won't be happy with it. And I'm not sure what razor you're using. I would use a sharp one. So if you freshen up the blade, that way you get because yeah, cutting a 1/16 to an 1/8 is rough. And if you want one with a bigger handle, or if you're happy with that, that's fine. Okay. Well, I would use a ruler, especially a metal one. The wooden one you'll cut into, but yeah, using a metal ruler will keep your line pretty fresh.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that felt better.
Yeah. And then here, let's go ahead and sharpen your blade. Or, oh no, that one's sharp.
Okay.
Yeah, typically with bookbinding, I highly recommend sharpening your blade as often as possible. I use, these are standard issue at Home Depot. And basically when your blade gets dull, you just take it up to that line, you snap it off. Like that, boom, you have your next blade and it's sharp. Then you only have to change out the main blade whenever you blow through. I think there's like 8 snaps to this. Did you get too much?
I must have switched the ends. Yeah, that's what it is. think I'm gonna keep it.
Okay.
It's not gonna be the same, but it's.
Oh, it was on. Now I'm just being ridiculous. All right, welcome back, Hank. Okay, everybody cut. We got boards.
I have to cut more.
Okay,
Go ahead.
you go. All right, so we're not going to do the layout on
I'm still
paper.
cutting.
What's that?
I'm still cutting.
Oh, okay, cut away. Thank you.
Yeah, 'cause look at how much.
Mhm.
I have so much extra on this.
Here, let's see what you got going on here. I'm going to sit this one down. Let me take a look at this. So those are your marks. Okay, I'm going to go with this side because I can see it. So if I go between the marks, and I'm going to cut off that side. Your marks are very different. So if I put this on your marks, see that angle?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit that right there. I'm just going to eyeball it, and we're going to go there. All right, I like that. And then I'm going to put this. All I'm doing now
Mm-hmm.
is I'm lining these up with these,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to draw the same line so you get about the same
Okay.
distance. And yes. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that's on that line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to draw this line.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to measure out an eighth. And I measure out an eighth. I'm going to go ahead and turn that light back on. I can't see my lines. Okay. And then we're just going to cut that down. And then grab your book back. What'd I do? I didn't quite give you enough. I may have to cut you some new boards. Let's go on this side. That'll work. You're a little tall though.
Mhm.
See how much you got there?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna bring this down. All right. These aren't perfectly square, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not happy with that at all. Give me 1 second. That rug is trying to kill me still.
And every time you do that, I think I've done something because it's right next to me. It's like, ah,
Okay,
I
let's,
didn't mean to kill the teachers.
here, you want to throw those
Sure.
over your shoulder? Just, yep, there you go. That's the way we do it.
I like that.
I'm gonna go a little bit more this time and give you. Yeah, because I measured an eighth, and you need to give an eighth for both sides.
Mhm.
So I messed up that measurement. That's happier. Okay. So now let's do this one. Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go like that. And go like that. That was not right. There we go. You want to cut them?
Sure.
There you go. There's your good board. This is your block. What did I do with my other one? Yeah, I had two here. Oh, it's underneath the weight. Okay. All right. So I'm going to. So I'm going to really quick lay out my boards for a second one. I've been making two right along. So as soon as I get this done, we are going to start laying out the case on the fabric. So if you want to get your fabric out and kind of counter roll it so it lays flat. And by counter roll it, because it's all rolled up like this, right? And then it doesn't want to lay flat. So just open it up and roll it the opposite way. Do that a couple times, tighten it up until you get, roughly flat. I've got one more board to cut and then I will be resuming. This overhead glare is killing me.
Is the text for the Gutenberg Bible available online?
Oddly enough, there's an organization out there called Project Gutenberg that supplies a lot of different texts online. I believe that there are copies of the pages on there. Now they're not print worthy. Like they basically took a picture of the book.
Right.
But yes, you can go to Project Gutenberg, just Google Gutenberg Bible.
Is there a site available that you can download it and print it? Do you know of, or?
No.
Well, you could download it from Gutenberg.
Yeah,
from the
but
Gutenberg.
it's not, like I said, it's not print worthy. So I'll show you later on, once we get through the class, I'll show you the files that I have. They're pristine. But there was like $10,000 worth of Photoshop work done to it. You know, the work that was done to get the text and the colors right and get rid of all of the digital artifacts, the shadows. I mean, just to get a clean copy cost roughly 10 grand. And that, yeah.
That's the price I want to pay.
I have sold digital copies. I tend not to because I don't want a bunch of people in competition. But I've sold copies to academics that I know are just going to use. They wanted to make their own binding, and I can respect that. So I haven't sold any of the full size ones, but I've sold a couple of the home editions, and it's a little bit more affordable than 10 grand. So just to give you an idea, the home edition, my print cost is, I want to say 250, 260, somewhere in that neighborhood, but it's a 2-volume set with 630 some pages per, yeah. And it's in full color. So yeah, I've sold, I haven't sold a digital copy. I've sold print copies. Let me rephrase that. And I've supplied low resolution digital copies because the whole thing is in Latin. The Gutenberg is, most people think it's German. Gutenberg was German. He printed it, but it was basically his version of the Vulgate, which was the first translation into Latin. But yeah, once we get done with this, I'll pull it out. You can take a look through it. All right, everybody done cutting? We've got boards. We're happy. We're excited. We're doing cartwheels. Okay. So now you should have something that looks like this. So we're going to set our text block aside for a minute. And we have our cloth. And we have our measurements. So I'm going to eyeball this roughly square, roughly centered, with a decent space in between. So what I'm going to do, and this is where we're going to transfer those lines. And let's see, where's my marker? So I need you to be able to see these. All right. So I transferred my lines to the cloth. Now, since we don't have a square, that's why we're going to eyeball it up. So I'm going to bring my boards in and get them pretty close to those lines. And then I'm going to come down here and put my lines on the bottom. And that should get you fairly square. If you start at the top and work your way down, if your spacing is even and your boards are cut square, you're going to be pretty dang square, at least to the eyeball.
A lot of confidence.
Right? All right. I'm going to use black Sharpie for this. So you can see it in the camera. I would recommend using a pencil. Don't press too hard, but what you want to do is once you have these evenly spaced, I'm going to let you guys aren't ready yet. I'll let you go. Sorry, I'm getting ahead.
I don't have a clock.
Oh my God, Becky. Would you look at the size of her book? All right. While they're doing that, I'm going to get you a cloth.
Okay.
And what I do with it, it's over here. See if I can cut a straight line.
It's okay, the book's a little lumpy too.
All right. There's that. And let's cut you down here. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forget that we didn't make you up a kit. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Just so sorry, but so sorry.
Worst things have happened in the world.
Right?
Yes. All right.
Yeah, get rid of all this crap underneath there.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm kind of playing around. I talked about what this board does when it gets wet. And of course, it's probably not going to do it because, you know, we're on camera. But it's calling me a liar.
Of course it is.
Seriously? Well, that's disappointing. Yeah, let me get a bigger piece. Bigger is better, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I put some splatters on there. There's a little paste mixed in with it, but I'm just gonna let that soak in for a minute. Sit it there. See if it'll do what I'm looking for. Okay, so if you've got you have your boards spaced out. What I did with my Sharpie is I drew a line here and here. So I have a nice solid visual line that I can follow. So what you want to do to help make these things square up is you're going to take your ruler, put it across the bottom, get one right on the ruler, and make sure your ruler, you might have to play around a little bit to make sure that it stays with your line. But once you get one set, then you can take the other one, set it on the roller, set it up to its line, and now it should be square. And then what I would do at that point, and I would use a pencil, is trace around your boards. And once you get those done, do the bottom. So, and essentially what you're going to have is that.
That's your layout, guys.
Okay.
Okay. So that now gives you a layout for where your boards go. You now know where your grooves are, and you know where your spine is going to be. And so I'm going to stop there. Let me know when you guys catch up. Or mustard. Or mayonnaise.
How about relish?
Oh, I relish. And your lines don't have to be perfectly solid or round, as long as you have enough of a line on all four sides that you can put it back into the exact same spot, you're fine. They're just going to be there as reference marks from when we glue this up.
Okey-dokey.
All right. Everybody got your lines drawn? Okay. So go ahead and move your boards. It's best if you keep your boards in the same orientation, just move them up. Don't flip them over, because if your boards aren't perfectly square and you try and put them back down, it might come out funny. Okay. So now what we're going to want to do is what's called the turn-ins. And that's basically the excess of material that rolls around your boards. So essentially your boards are going to be sitting here, and it's that material that's going to turn in like that. And when you get done with your book, it goes in, you can see this line here, your end papers will go over it. So you want your turn-ins to be at least large enough that your end papers cover it. I believe the ones on this particular book are going to be 1/2 inch. Okay, they're 3/4. All right. Typically, you want your turn-ins to be at least 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8. If you take 1/2 inch and you add the thickness of your board, because as you turn your material over the board, that thickness is going to eat up I'm sorry, that thickness is going to eat up an 1/8 inch of your material. So if we take that 1/8 inch, 1/2 inch, that gives us 5/8. You can go a little bit more. You can go less, but then you're risking your end papers not fully covering your turn-ins. So for today, we're going to use 5/8. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to, at 2 or 3 spots along the way, you're going to make marks all the way around. Oh, half. 5/8. Now again, my marks are fat because I'm using a marker, and you really want this to be closer to exact than a fat marker.
That's
So
gonna be tight.
What's that?
They're gonna be tight, like that.
Okay,
I'm not quite 5/8.
but is it at least 1/2 inch?
Yeah,
Okay, you'll be okay. Sorry about that.
yeah, I definitely have 1/2 inch.
Yeah, then you'll be good. Anything less than that, I'd cut you a new piece.
Okay.
But I happen to know that it'll definitely cover. So that'll work out. All right. You don't have to, once you make your marks, I'm going to draw the lines in so you can see them. You don't have to draw these lines in. We're going to cut this off. But I figure for visual aid, it'd be easier if you could see my lines. I mean, unless you're bored and you want to draw lines, that's fine too. So the area with the X's is going to get cut away. I'll let you guys catch up a little bit. So you have your boards, and then you're going to have your 5/8 border going all the way around. And I'm going to go ahead and start cutting my excess material away.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
If you have less than 5/8, like on one corner, I have like a 1/2 inch. Should I make it uniform 1/2 inch all the way around, or can it just be 1/2 inch in that spot?
Okay, so a 1/2 inch will work. I wouldn't go any less than that. And you will end up with a better looking turn in your corners if you make it uniform. So yes,
Okay.
I would do 1/2 inch all the way around.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you did a 1/2 inch and 5/8 the rest of the way, your corner would have this weird little step in it, which isn't horrible, but anyone with an eye would pick up on it if they were trained.
I got mine. Thank you.
It's all you. You caught right on. If you have that 1/2 inch, make your uniform 1/2 inch all the way around.
Oh, all the way around?
Yeah, you'll end up with a better looking turn-in. If you have like one side is 1/2 inch and the main corner is 5/8, you're gonna end up with a weird little step. So aesthetically, it'll be better.
So I'll just slightly over here.
All right. So as you guys are working, we're going to do one more step, which will be the final step in cutting your cloth. And then after that, we're going to break for lunch. But I'll wait until everybody catches up.
I want to trim this off because it's hanging out a little more.
Yeah.
Then it
So
should be on
the
that.
easiest way of doing that,
Mhm.
actually, open it up to where you want to trim it.
Mhm.
Take your ruler and put it inside. And then bring your ruler out to the edge of the text block.
Mhm.
And now, when you cut that, you have a steel edge in there. Extend your blade a little bit. And there you go.
Nice.
If you want to do that to the other side, that's fine.
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah, good.
Looks like
I'll
I
let you
didn't-
do it that time.
Looks like I didn't quite get them square on.
Well, sometimes even if you have them square, when you put the paste on it, the water causes them to go wonky
Yeah.
in the paste.
Oh, I
And
see what you're doing.
yeah, she's just trimming her end papers.
Gotcha.
Because they were bugging me. Like it's not a lot, but it's enough to, you know.
Yeah.
be like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Enough to bug it.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that it's a contrasting color.
Yeah.
Your eye goes right to it. It's like, I see you.
Damn you, why are you there?
Okay, we ready for the last cutting step?
Yep.
All right. So the last thing that we're going to do, when you do your cut, when you do your corners, you don't want excess material. And if you want a nice clean corner. Now there's different ways of doing corners. We're just going to do a standard corner. There's ways of doing it with pleats and cute little cutouts, and we're not going to do that today. But what we are going to do, you want to come away from each corner at a 45-degree angle, and I'll go ahead and go through an entire one, then I'll do all of these, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. But you want to make sure you have 1.5 times your board thickness. And that's so it has enough material to go up and over and around. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be exaggerated again because I've got a fat marker. My board thickness is 1/8 of an inch. So you want 3/16, which is somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4, right? So I'm going to come on here and I'm going to, that's 1/8. I'm going to go 3/16 and I'm going to make a little dot. Now, I don't know if you can see that. So that's roughly the distance that we're talking about. It's not a lot. And then some people, they make these little tools and they're gauged and they're at a 45-degree angle. I generally just eyeball a 45-degree angle. Your cutting mats have lines. You can use that. And essentially, once I get it lined up, I whack off the corner. And there I've got, now this is exaggerated. That's probably a good 1/16 more than I need, but that's what we're going to do to each of the 4 corners. So again, I'm going to come out a little over 1/8 inch from the corner. Make a dot. I'm going to cover the dot, come out to roughly 45 degrees. Boom. In there. So I got, that one's probably closer to the way it should look. If you don't get a perfect 45, don't sweat it. Don't try and cut and cut and cut, because then you'll end up with no material left. If it's close to 45, you're going to be okay. So I'm going to switch over to a pencil for my next couple. Ideas. All right, I don't know if this is going to show up very well on the camera, but where I got it wet, you can see a little ridge. It just bubbled up a tiny bit.
It looks like it's got a rash.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a rash, and it's not a lot, but it's enough to make the board not desirable. See?
Oh, yeah.
Just enough.
Which drawer are the scissors in?
What's that?
The scissors. Because I was just gonna.
Oh,
cut
bottom
these.
right.
Okay.
And here's a set. See? That rug is evil. Yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of this or double tape it down. This was on our back patio last summer, and I didn't want to. These rugs are expensive, and I didn't want to go out and buy another one. So I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'll buy a new one in the spring. I'm going to take the old one,
Mhm.
and
That's what you do.
exactly.
You said about an 8.
And you're still reusing it.
What's that? A little 3/16, a little over 1/8. If you go under 1/8, you'll have a headache.
Oh, maybe I cut mine wider than I needed to.
That's okay. Yeah, that'll work. Like I said, don't try and cut it smaller, because you'll end up not having enough material in the end.
Yeah.
Can you pass the scissors back, please?
Oh.
Thank you.
See, this is why I wanted a different pair.
Oh, man. So there's a whole box of them right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, while you guys are working, I'm going to talk a little bit. So you've now, or will in a minute, finish cutting your cloth. And the last thing we need to do before we glue the boards down is much like we line the spine with the craft paper. We're going to line the spine on the cloth. And you can use craft paper, whatever paper. All this does is just, it gives a little rigidity between the paste and the paper. It just adds a little extra layer there. If you don't have another piece of this, I don't know if I gave you enough. You can use a drop off from your cloth or other paper that you have in the house. That'd be fine too. But essentially what we're going to do when we get back is we're going to cut this to size. We're going to paste it on the inside of the cloth. We're going to paste down the boards. We're going to paste down the turn-ins. And then your case will be done. And then the next step, case in the book, and bam, you've got yourself a book. Yeah, it'll go pretty quick after lunch. Oh, and it's snowing.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Yeah, I'm one of those freaks that.
5-hour drive, thank you.
Oh, I am so sorry. He's got to drive to Albany, New York from here. 5 hours. And I'm sitting here doing the happy dance on snow. So I lived for better part of 25 years in Seattle. And Seattle has 2 seasons. You have summer and then you have rain. And for most of the time I was there, it would snow once every other third year, and you'd get a quarter of an inch. The city was shut down for the day and it would be gone by lunch. Now with global warming or El Nino or whatever phenomenon they're talking about this week, Seattle's actually been getting more snow than us, and we've been getting the bloody rain, and I hate being wet. Now, I mean, if I'm in a pool or the lake, that kind of wet is fine. The shower's fine. I don't like going outside, getting misted by rain, and then having to spend the entire day living in that mode of the word that nobody likes, moist. And I just hate it. And I thought when I left Seattle, I would have all 4 seasons. I'd have summer, fall, spring, and winter. And this winter we've had nothing but fall, ongoing fall. And I'm glad it's snowing, and I'm sorry you have to drive in it, but
I'm not leaving until tomorrow.
oh, there you go. Alexa, what's the weather forecast today?
Right now in Newton, it's 33 degrees Fahrenheit and snow. Throughout the day, you can expect more of the same, with a high of 39 degrees and a low of 30 degrees. By the way, there's a winter weather advisory in effect until Monday, January 23rd, 1 p.m.
A winter advisory. I'm sorry.
Next time he's just going to do the video.
It's all right.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I lived in the North Country my whole life. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You down there in Texas, stay inside. Us up here, we'll just get the big coat.
I grew up
Yeah.
in the St. Lawrence,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
the Watertown, Clayton area.
Yeah.
Well, we got snow.
All right. Is everybody caught up? So you should have, I'm not going to change the cameras again, something that looks like this. Woohoo! All right. So let's go ahead and do lunch. It's almost 12:30. Let's come back at 1:30. It'll give everybody time to do whatever they need to do. And we will already describe what we're going to do. So just go. We'll catch you guys a little bit later. I'm going to stop recording. Someone please remind me to record when we get back.